It's one of the most political actions state lawmakers can take.
I don't think we know anything of why we're here.
Redrawing congressional districts.
It's not easy. Sometimes things are contentious and they're difficult, and I get it.
Picking which voters each member will represent.
But I think if we work, we can come up with the best resolution for all Texans.
State lawmakers begin the process to shift more power to Republicans.
President Trump do want to have add more seats, and so does the party. We passed a resolution asking for it.
We speak with the chair of the Texas GOP and the chair of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus.
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
They can go from Daddy Trump to King Trump, but we need to stop it. And people need to say, I don't care to be on the winning team if this is the way we have to win.
This morning, a look at how Texas may determine the balance of power in Washington and the future of the Trump administration.
This is Lone Star Politics from NBC5 and the Dallas Morning News.
Texas in the forefront. We're taking a deep dive into President Trump's push to redraw congressional maps shaping the 2026 midterm elections. It stole the attention from other issues in Austin as the special session now enters week 2. Good Sunday morning. I'm Phil Prazen from NBC5.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers, political writer with the Dallas Morning News. Redistricting. Redistricting is the process of drawing electoral district boundaries. In most states, including here in Texas, redistricting is the responsibility of state lawmakers, and it is typically done every 10 years following the U.S. Census.
Gromer, let's catch people up with how we got here. In 2018, that close election we had sent the signal to Republicans that the state was trending more competitive. So after the 2020 census, Republican lawmakers did not try to eliminate any Democratic seats. Instead, they played defense, shoring up their own seats and leading to big wins, but no new seats for them. That convinced some they were being too safe. President Trump made gains in 2024, notably in South Texas, and this year the Department of Justice sent a letter to the state claiming 4 congressional districts were racial gerrymanders, and they called on Texas to change the maps. President Trump also called on other GOP states to do the same. Republicans already hold 25 of Texas's 38 congressional seats. With 5 more seats, Gromer, almost 80% of Texas voters will be represented by the GOP, while Trump won 56% of the vote in 2024. Democratic leaders and advocacy groups in the Texas legislature argued that drawing Democrats out of power also means drawing Black and Hispanic voters out of power. That's a line Republicans always reject and fight in court. Jacksboro Republican David Spiller serves on the redistricting committee and told me they haven't yet made up their minds on where the lines will go.
Certainly, we do it every 10 years, but we're entitled to do it anytime that we need.
Tomorrow here in North Texas, the House Redistricting Committee will hold its 3rd and final public redistricting hearing. If you wish to speak, you can register with the clerk ahead of 5 p.m. hearing at the University of Texas at Arlington. The hearing will be live streamed via the Texas House of Representatives website. Now, this kicks off an intense political battle. I spoke with the chair of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, Fort Worth Democrat Ramon Romero, about their next steps.
It's too soon. We should have been waiting until 2030. After the 2030 census, the call came in from Trump, and just like everything that we've seen in this past session, now that President Trump is back in office, if he asks, the simple answer is yes. As people said, describe that to me. I said, this went from the land of the free to the land of agreement. Whatever he asked for, that's what's being done. It's a shame because Texans have always been, very proud to be the Lone Star State, very independent, and it just seems like we've lost our backbone.
The Department of Justice from the Trump administration has pointed to 4 districts to the state and said, hey, in 2021, the maps you drew are unconstitutional. You packed voters of colors in these coalition districts. What do you think of that?
Well, what a coalition district would have been of all. It would have been African Americans, it would have been Latinos, and it would have been, likely Anglo voters that believe the way they do. But they said, but you specifically, used that and talked about coalition using race. So that we need to do away with. But at the same time, we're in El Paso for this fight in the court system, at which the state said that they drew the maps race blind. So how is it possible that you drew it race blind and then agree that you did not? So Governor Abbott's, he's talking out of both ends of his mouth right now, and a shame that what's going on right now with the river, the floods, this special session could be about one thing, Phil, and that's just those families. If you really wanted to honor those people, that's what we would be doing. We would come in, give us 2 weeks, deal with the floods. If he wants to call us back, do it then. It's a shame that the honor doesn't exist the way it should in Texas.
What's the strategy? How can Malk and the Democratic caucus stop this?
Well, I think there's lots of options. I mean, you mentioned quorum breaks. Certainly that is an opportunity if we find that when we see this map that it is so egregious that they are going after people of color, like we know that they're going to do. We know they're going to break up the communities in densely populated areas and urban areas. We know they're going to do that. And I think that there's going to be an expectation from our constituents and from people that live in those cities as a whole to say, y'all have to do something. So can we stop this? Can we quorum break until however many months? That's not likely. We know that. So what we really need to do is we need the fire to be lit right now by people all over Texas that understand redistricting, maybe don't understand it, to start understanding it more, and also heed the warning. These maps are not going to be drawn by people, they're drawn by computers. And they're going to be ugly. And they're going to take away our rights as people that live in the cities that we live. I love Fort Worth. I know that my colleagues love their individual cities. Fort Worth doesn't even have a state senator, for God's sake, anymore that lives from Fort Worth. We don't have a congressman, from North Texas. It's of Latino origin. So for Malk, yeah, we'd like that, but we're happy with Mark Vesey. We don't want to see Mark Vesey's map just stripped away from him, just like we don't want to see Sylvie Garcia or Veronica Escobar or Lloyd Doggett here. So this is picking and choosing their voters, as we've heard on and on again. This is as gross. This is the grossest part of politics that anybody will ever witness.
Well, and in the past, that has been the strategy. They'll go, hey, Fort Worth needs a member of Congress. Forget about those Democrats in Dallas, or forget about the Democrats in other part of states. We're going to take care of you. How do you defend against stuff like that, where they try and play, different interest groups, racial groups, or individuals off each other?
To your point, Phil, it's about to happen. They're going to pit congresspersons against each other, but then they'll create a district so easy, like, hey, maybe you want this one. We have to look at it as a whole. We have to look at it as, what is this doing for our country? And that's why so many people are appealing to Gavin Newsom and other governors, where you have the trifecta, where you have the state senate, the House, and the executive office and the governor's office, to say, you wanted to play nice guy and have an independent redistricting in New York and Chicago, Illinois and California. Fight fire with fire. So there's a lot of us that have been on the phone with those governors and saying, hey, you're leaving us out here.
You have to nationalize this fight.
Absolutely.
Because if it stays in Texas, it could get really bad for the Democrats.
This started in North Carolina. North Carolina did mid-cycle redistricting, mid-decade redistricting. They went from 7-7 to 10-4. That's a difference of 6. That's the difference in Congress right now. Then they're going to do it in Texas. They're going to do it in Ohio. And other states are going to continue to follow suit. America needs to pay attention. They're buying votes in Congress. We shouldn't allow that. One thing the Texans need to remember, though, is if we all get out and vote, we can change our governor. Those are statewide. We can change our lieutenant governor. We can change our attorney general. We have to prove it. And I believe that all America is going to surprise the hell out of these guys come 2026.
This almost guarantees a legal battle. So many Republican lawmakers did not respond to our requests for interviews. But to get the Republican perspective, I spoke with Chair of the Texas GOP, Abraham George. I spoke with him on his way driving to a meeting of other Republican Party members in Kentucky. Why redistrict?
We have a court case that we won recently that says that we can redistrict, but it also comes down to a lot of things happened after the COVID census was not properly done. So there's a DOJ memo that came down as well. So we're just trying to make sure everyone in Texas is represented, and it's a good thing for us in 2026 election.
So tell me more about, you don't think that the 2020 census was accurately done?
I don't think the lines were drawn properly. So there's more people here in our state now, and some of the districts are not properly drawn to accommodate everyone. There's some district who has a lot more people than the other ones, so which is not what we're supposed to be. So
you know, you have the president saying that he wants to try and get 5 more Republican congressional districts. You have Democrats saying, is it really about that DOJ memo and fixing something that's unconstitutional, or is it just partisanship and Republicans trying to get more seats?
Well, I would say it's both. I mean, I'm not part of the redistricting effort, so I think I can speak a little bit more freely than most of the others, especially the legislator would be able to. But I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both. President Trump do want to have add more seats, and so does the party. We passed a resolution asking for it. We've been talking to RNC and others about it. So yeah, it's both.
And if you're going to make some Democratic seats more competitive, you got to move historically Republican voters into those seats, which may make some Republican seats more competitive. Are you worried about that at all?
I think every candidate should be able to campaign and, you know, clearly communicate their messaging to their district. And if that makes some Republican seats competitive and they have to do a harder campaign, I think it's only fair as long as we're drawing the districts fairly. So I think it's fair game. I don't think anyone should have a district that's 70% Republican or 70 or 80% Democrat. I mean, he could if the entire state is that way, but we're a little bit more competitive than that. So some of the districts will be 65 or 70 or 55. It depends on how the legislators are going to look at that.
The Democrats argue that you cannot put Democrats at a disadvantage without also putting like Black and Hispanic voters at a disadvantage. They brought that argument out in court. What do you think about that?
Well, if the Democrats are not looking at the numbers, that's their problem, because in the last cycle, both Black Americans and Hispanics supported Republican Party. So if it's anyone's disenfranchising them, it is the Democrat Party. As you know, Phil, we flipped 14 out of the 14 counties, the border counties that are all majority Hispanic counties. We flipped 12 out of the 14. So 12 different counties, over 1 million people moved to the Republican Party side this cycle. And we are only going to see more people do that, especially now the border is secure, especially now the inflation is coming down. President is talking about cutting the interest rate. So the economy is going to get better over the few months. And I think there's going to be more Black Americans, more minorities, Hispanic voters is going to be on our side than on the Democrat side. So it really is not a real talking point for them anymore.
Republicans currently have a narrow majority in the House with 4 seats vacant headed into 2026. And it isn't just red states redistricting. Talk is ramping up in some blue states, including California, New York, and New Jersey.
Gromer, redistricting is maybe one of the most unsavory parts of politics.
It's nasty business.
But you wrote an article earlier this week saying when Democrats were in control, they did the same thing. Specifically in 2000, up until 2004 when Republicans took over, where it was a Republican state, but there were still more Democratic Congress members in D.C.
Yeah, it was 1715, the congressional lines, and going into 2003, even though by that time Republicans had taken almost firm control of the state. And I had to tell you, communities of color have been at Democrats and Republicans through the years about redistricting and about getting a bigger piece of the pie. So you're right, both parties.
So is this just, the cliche, don't hate the player, hate the game?
In some ways, again, you have to go do it. I think what gets lost in this fight, which is a political fight, is the impact on communities, and not just communities of color, but communities that are split up, sliced and diced. Communities that used to be all in one district and now in 4 or 5 districts.
Cities, counties.
Exactly. That's what you got to look out for long term.
Still ahead, we continue to look at the big agenda items for lawmakers who return to Austin for this special session. Up next, flooding relief and the latest push for a total ban, Gromer, on THC.
We're here to talk about what we need to do now to help our chances of winning next year.
Then Texas Democrats turn their focus to 2026 and the statewide race drought. You're watching Lone Star Politics.